Analog versus digital, an old controversial topic since the 80s with the introduction of the PC into the music industry and recording studios. Which one is better? Is it equal nowadays? What do you prefer? It really depends. Hey, I'm Marty from LB Music, and today I want to show you my approach of a Mixbus processing. And lately, as you probably have seen in one of my other videos, I got a new stereo processor with a compressor, EQ section, and of course a little bit of saturation, tube saturation to be specific. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to have a little bit of a kind of a comparison between digital and analog. So what I'm going to show you today is, first of all, the analog processor, how it sounds with and without it, and what it can actually do with it. And then we're going to have a look, of course, to the plugins. In particular, I have 3 plugins that kind of simulate the TL audio unit that I have on the Mixbus. It's a TL Audio A2 processor with saturation, valve saturation, EQ, and compression. And so we have 3 plugins, which will be from Plug and Mix, the analoger. Then we got also the SSL comp from Waves, so the master bus compressor, and the PuigTech EQ to mimic the EQ section of the analog processor a little bit. So I would say let's jump right in, and I would say I start with the TL Audio A2, and I'm going to show you a little bit around. All right, so here we are. Let's play a little bit of the song. I've chosen here a song with quite some transients, a little bit of a beat here, tambourine shaker, conga, a little bit of bass, guitars, and a piano. So I'm gonna play you now this song. The unit is bypassed, so there is no processing with that. And as you can see here on the mix down, we also have no audio plugins. So that's just the music without any processing on the Mixbus. All right, so I would say I'm gonna turn now on the unit, and I'm gonna talk about what I did here on the Mixbus. So the first thing I engage here is actually the tube stage, which is that. So let's engage that and listen to how that sounds. Maybe we're gonna listen here just to this kind of verse segment here. Well, let's take maybe that. All right. And that's basically the tube stage. So it gives a little bit of, I don't like actually the word warmth, but it kind of shapes the transients a little bit and gets a little bit rid of the harshness in the top end. So now, second thing is here the equalizer. So let's engage that. And what I typically do is here boost a little bit of the low frequencies and also on the high frequencies, with here around 80 to 90. So shelf EQ and also your shelf of 12,000 Hertz. And in the mid frequencies, you can actually set what you want to boost or cut a little bit. So from 150 Hertz up to 7,000 Hertz, right? But in this case, I just didn't boost anything or cut anything. Just want to rise a little bit the low end and the high end. All right, so maybe let's start with off and then I'm gonna switch it on. Okay, so quite a difference here. Much fuller low end and of course a little bit of excitement in the high end. Okay, and last but not least, the compressor, which is this section here. On this particular unit, the TL Audio A2, you got a threshold, a ratio, attack release, hard or soft knee, and a makeup gain. It's actually pretty simple to use. You just have two buttons for attack and release, so for slow and fast. I have it here in the slow attack with 8 milliseconds of attack, and the release is here in the fast mode, which is 200 milliseconds. A little bit of makeup gain. I'm just compressing maybe around 1.5 up to 2 dB. I don't like doing too much on the Mixbus, just shaping or reducing the transients and tuck them a little bit down. And ratio is 2:1. So that's basically it. And of course, soft knee setting, so very channel curve. All right, so let's play it. Then I'm gonna push it in. Okay, so it didn't boost very much makeup gain, so we have constant level and we can actually listen what the compressor is doing here instead of just raise the volume. Okay, so now I would say I'm gonna switch a little bit between the tube stage, EQ and comp, so all together, turn them off and on again so you can really hear the difference. Let's play maybe the same part here. Okay, so as you can hear, a really difference, much fuller low end, a little bit more high end, and the compressor together with the tube stage really shapes the sound, especially in the high end a little bit. So really like that. Okay, and now let's switch that off and maybe go here. As you can see, let's mute all those tracks and also the mixdown track here. And as you can see on those two tracks here, I have one mixdown of the plugins and one mixdown TL Audio A2. So I already printed that through the physical unit and also through the plugins. And of course, to make good decisions and to really hear the difference, they should be of equal level. So those two tracks, the plugins and the TL Audio. And as you can see, I already measured it. We have here on the VLM Plus the same LUFS, which is here -21 and also here 21.1, so it's actually as close as it might get. So that's actually quite good, and I think we can live with that. So let's close that again, and I'm gonna play you now. Let's turn those off here. Those meters, don't need them now. And the first plugin I have here to mimic kind of the sound of the TLA is the tube stage, which is here the plug and mix analoger. you can switch between tape, mixed, or a tube, so I just leave it here on the tube. I didn't do anything with the lows and highs because I actually don't particularly know if the tube stage here is actually introducing kind of like any EQ or something like that, but it isn't stated in the manual, so I think it might not. So I just left it here in the middle. And I used actually the same drive, so we have here the tube warmth in the middle, and I use it here just also in the middle. It's kind of the same setting here, and maybe let's try that before we go on to the other ones. So first without. So as you probably can see in here, I reduced a little bit the output stage here because overall the volume is quite a little bit louder with the plugins than with the TL audio, so I matched that there. So that's the PM analoger, a little bit of saturation. And now the second one is the compressor. Of course, you can use also the compressor section here after the EQ, so you can switch here the EQ pre, and you have the EQ and then the compressor, but I really like doing it the other way around on the Mixbus with first the compressor and then the EQ. And I use here the Waves SSL comp. It's a pretty nice sounding plugin of the great solid state logic bus comp. And I use here actually as possible or as quite the same settings that I could get with this unit. I have here 10 ms on the attack. This unit has 8, so it's kind of like nearly the same. Ratio 2:1, same as on the unit. A little bit of makeup gain, and the overall compression is actually pretty the same. It's 1.5 up to 2 dB of compression, same as on the TL audio. And release here 300 milliseconds on the unit. It's 200. It's kind of the same setting, so as close as possible with this solid state logic comp. And I actually have chosen this comp because it adds a little bit of color. Also this compressor adds color. I didn't want to use a very clean compressor. All right, so let's try that. Okay, quite pleasing. And last but not least, the EQ. I do actually the same thing here. Boost a little bit on the Pultec EQ here, so which is actually the Pultec clone here. Boost a little bit of the low end, 100. The low end is here around 80 to 90, so that's as close as it gets with that unit. Again, it has also a lot of coloration as this EQ has, so it's kind of like a not very clean sounding unit, but we want to clone that here with the plugins. Very kind of like a broad bandwidth, and high frequency, same as on the unit with 12,000 Hertz. A little bit of boost there, okay? All right, so let's try that quickly. Now let's do the same thing here as on the TL audio. So quite a difference there. Okay, so now we have the sound of the A2, and we also looked at the plugins and what plugins I used here to mimic kind of like the style and the sound of this unit. And now comes the big part. So I'm gonna switch between the plugins track, which is here the red one, and the green one, which is here the teal audio track. Okay, so let's try it here maybe with the whole song. And I'm gonna start first with the plugins, and then I'm gonna switch to the A2 and so forth. All right, so here we go. Okay, so what you probably hear a little bit is that the A2 track, or at least what I hear, and I recommend listen to it again with good monitors or headphones so you can really hear the details, is that the A2 sounds a little bit more open. And let's have a look here at the frequencies. And I used here the PAZ from Waves, the frequency analyzer. Set it here to RMS mode. And we have here on the right the TL audio frequency, and here is the plugins frequency. And what we can see here is actually that the low end here is pretty much the same. So RMS wise, so over the whole period of time of the song. Also the mid frequencies are quite the same, and also the high end. But especially in the high end, I feel that the A2 sounds a little bit more open. I mean, you can fiddle around here, for example, with the with the EQ here, and boost a little bit more of the high frequencies. However, when you look then at the frequency analyzer, you might see that the high frequency are actually a little bit too much boosted. Also on the low end, I feel that the low end is a little bit tighter on the A2, which I suppose you can also try it with other plugins. They might feel a little bit tighter. And but anyway, overall the sound is really, really close. You might, what I found really interesting is, as I have the same level here, so as close as I get, I found another thing that is actually really interesting. We have here the same loudness, so -21, and here 21 on the A2. However, on the true peak here, even though we compressed just 1.5 and up to 2 dB on loud parts on both units, so on the SSL comp and on the TL audio, we have a little bit of different peak here. So -7.1, and on the plugin here, -5.9. I suppose that the compressors act a little bit different, which is kind of normal. But I think that the tube stage actually is quite a little bit different on the real unit in terms of natural compression. So as you know, when you introduce a little bit of distortion, saturation, there is a physical compression. It's the nature of that. to have the transients shaped a little bit, rounded off, and introduce also a little bit of compression. So I think with the tube stage and with the compressor together, you have a little bit more of could say a little bit more clue. That's at least what I hear. And yeah, so that's kind of interesting. And to say to the A2 again, also, it feels a little bit more alive. We have a little bit more exciting, or I hear a little bit more of excitement in the higher frequencies. So that's a really, really personal thing if you want to actually use hardware equipment on a Mixbus, or if you stick to plugins. Both you can make really great mixes and recordings with plugins. I often do that. I don't always use the Mixbus depending on the recallability, if the client wants to have multiple recalls, or if I have to switch quickly between sessions. But overall, for me, I prefer the analog Mixbus unit here, the TL Audio, a little bit more. There are quite some interesting and amazing units, for example, of TubeTech. There is also a Mixbus compressor, which is an SSL clone from a kind of newer company. I think they are in South America. It's Stem Audio. I heard really good things about their SSL clone, so check that out. All right, so that's the difference between those two tracks, and maybe let's listen again here, maybe on the outro here. Let's go into that and switch again a little bit between those two. So starting with the A2. All right, so there you have it. That's basically it. To sum it up a little bit, it's basically, or it doesn't actually really matter nowadays what you use. So if you use just analog equipment or you use plugins, so just with the DAW, maybe the plugins, the stock plugins that came with the DAW are actually pretty good nowadays. As of course, the third-party plugins are great. And you can also make a combination like I do here with the console, the plugins, Logic Pro X, and the outboard equipment in the rack. And yeah, so as I said, it's a really specific thing. There are quite some units, analog units, that may sound a little bit better than the plugins, but plugins actually have come a long way. And so there is actually no excuse to make great music, even if you don't have any analog equipment. And even though it's really quite fun to play around with faders and a little bit of knobs and turn them and see what you can do and what sounds you can create with that. So it's kind of like a haptic and a physical thing that connects us to analog equipment, right? So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like that in the future. And as always, happy recordings, and see you in the next video.